What up, Outreach Squad? This is Joe Posada with UT Outreach Dallas with a friendly reminder that our remaining podcasts for the month of July are going to be a recap of our Bevo Bootcamp 2020. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them below in the comment sections and we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you all and enjoy.
Say writing and writing in general because oftentimes the way that you articulate yourself on paper means something as it relates to getting scholarship money and getting just different opportunities, and even as it relates to work. At work, every day I have to write something. And so that equates to having a job, which equates to being able to have access to finances to care for my family. So writing is profoundly important. It's the thing that gets you into doors when you're physically not able to get there, because it shows a written representation of who you are. And so today we have Miss Ann Moreno from the Irma Lerma Rangel Academy for Young Women. And this is very special for me because Miss Moreno is one of those people that I've learned so much from, just as it relates to helping young people. And not only that, she's just a phenomenal person to know, a positive person, a very encouraging person. And as you'll find out when she begins to present, just extremely engaging and knowledgeable. And I've learned so much from her, and I've watched her over the course of almost 10 years now. And so I'll be quiet now, and so that I can give Miss Ann Moreno the floor, and so that she can show you just how brilliant and how amazing she is.
That is way too kind. Way too kind. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Rite of Passage. I'd like to thank um, Dr. English and Taryn Bright and Joe Posada, Triana, for making the ask and inviting me to spend a little time with you this morning during Bevo Boot Camp 2020.
Raise the roof, raise the roof.
Come on, y'all, we're going to college. But it's a neat opportunity to be able to spend some time with y'all, and I give you, as the kids would say, mad props for getting up this early to be on a Zoom call and to invest in your future in this way. So good on you. Well done. Bravo. So before we get started, if you are on a computer and you can open up a word processing program like Word or something where you can, we're going to have a couple of exercises later, and I want you to be able to type some things. Or if you can use the notes feature or app on your phone, just be prepared for that. And I'll give you a little heads up when we're approaching those exercises. That would be the first thing I would say. The other thing is we're going to do some good work today towards getting you on the track to writing an essay, but you won't actually finish an essay by the time this workshop is done. And I'm going to pause there and make sure that either Dr. English or Joe or Taryn, one of you can wave wildly when you need me to stop. Like, I mean, I've got a timer going, but I just want to make sure I respect everybody's time. So my hope is that you'll leave today with some great ideas and some nuggets that you can use moving forward, and certainly that I can provide additional resources for you. Like Dr. English said, I am the College Bound Advisor at the Irma Rangel Young Women's Leadership School, and this is my 30th year in college admissions, and I love what I do, and so that's another reason I'm thrilled to be here. And especially today, education is the great liberator. It opens up all sorts of opportunities for us, and it's my great pride to be involved with your journey in that way. And so just no matter what, know that you are on the path to and through college. So today we're going to talk about the college admission essay. You may also see it referred to as the personal statement. It's the same thing. And as you go through the college application process, or even before then, as you look ahead to participating in summer camps, whether those are virtual or we get to do those in person again, or you're doing a college fly-in where you get to visit a college and they pay for it. Imagine that. Like Dr. English said, you're going to be doing a lot of writing. And so getting started now and having a couple of essays or personal statements under your belt is great practice. And those will come in handy for all sorts of things. Next slide. Why do we need the essay? Oh wait, can I advance it too? I'm so like, let's pretend I know what I'm doing. So why we need the essay and part of the application, as part of the application, is to represent you as a person, right? So when you get reviewed for admission by a college or university, they're going to be looking at your grades. They'll be looking at the kinds of clubs and organizations that you were involved in, how you spent your time outside of the classroom. They'll be looking at what other people say about you in terms of a letter of recommendation. They'll be looking at your leadership potential, how you've contributed to your campus, and sometimes test scores. And I say sometimes because in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and students' access to be able to take the SAT or ACT, which are the standardized exams that most of us will have to walk through on our way to college. A lot of colleges have changed their requirements in terms of testing, but usually those are part of the consideration too. So you've got all those things going into the mix, and the essay is another way for the college admissions office to get to know you. It's a way for you to stand out from the other applicants and to be able to demonstrate that you have the ability to express yourself and communicate well. And so that's what that's used for. Okay. But remember, you have total control over the essay. The essay is kind of like your interview on paper, or you in the written word, right? You may have the opportunity to interview in person because some colleges will do that, and I encourage you to do that if you have a chance to. Or you might get to meet with an admissions counselor when they visit your school, virtually or otherwise. And I know the UT outreach team goes out and works with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students on all kinds of campuses across the Metroplex. And so if you have an opportunity to meet an admissions counselor in person, that's fantastic. But if you do, if you don't, the essay is a great way to introduce you to the college. And it's your chance to be you, totally you, because there's only one you in the whole wide world. It's a way for you to stand out beyond all of those other things that we talked about. I want you to relax. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to solve the world's mysteries or life's mysteries. And so a lot of times I hear from my students, well, I didn't start my own nonprofit, or I wasn't the youngest person elected to the city council, or sure, I've been through some stuff in my life, but I wouldn't consider any of them these huge, dramatic, like, let's make a movie about my life kind of things. And that's perfectly okay. You've done some living, you have lived a life. And I will also say to you that it's probably true that some of you think you don't have anything to talk about. I know at Rangel, although I don't want to call out those students, but sometimes we don't always understand how much we have to share, and we don't value our origin story, the things that are important to us, where we come from, the histories that we have. And there's a whole other Zoom meeting that we can talk about that, why that is. But I'm here to validate you and affirm you, and it always makes me a little emotional, that you do have a story, that your origin matters, that you have done some amazing things, that you have lived lives beyond what people my age, don't try to guess how old that is, but that people 2 and 3 times your age have navigated. You've done some amazing things. That most recently, get through these last 4 and 5 months, you've done some identity exploration. You've taken algebra, maybe, or not. You've done some incredible things in your homes and your communities, and you have a lot to share. So I will stop there, but I just wanted to validate that. And admission counselors, the folks that are reading these applications, recognize that you are 16 or 17 or 18 years old, and that you are a work in progress, like we all are. So you don't have to have any of it all figured out yet in your essay. It's just another way to express yourself. You have total control. Oh, I said that already. I'm so sorry. An admission counselor wants to know, what am I going to learn about this person? They are looking to this essay to fill in those gaps that your test scores and your grades and the courses that you've taken and the activities that you've been involved in. They're looking to fill in those gaps with information from your essay. They also want to know, do I have confidence in the way this person expresses themselves? Is this person, not necessarily, you don't have to be like writing a screenplay or qualifying to have your work published yet. So they're not looking for like, are you that kind of writer? They're looking to say like, can the student share confidently about themselves? Are they opening up just a little bit to let me have a peek at all of that stuff about them that doesn't show up anywhere else in the academic record? And then finally, what will the student contribute to our campus? Colleges are building classes when they admit students, right? So even if the college has a way of admitting students where they look at a combination of just grades and test score and rank, they're still building a class, and they want to make sure that they're bringing students to campus that are going to share confidently, have a voice, bring diversity of opinion, of thought, of background. And the best way for them to sometimes get to know that is through the essay. And so they're looking for that. Colleges will use different prompts, and a prompt basically is the question or the statement that directs you to write, right? Sometimes you have to respond to one or two that are set and you don't get a choice. Sometimes they give you multiple ones to choose from, and you get a choice, and hopefully you can work with your college advisor, or if you have one, your college access provider on your campus. If you're in Dallas ISD, you will have one of those, or a UT outreach officer if they're on your campus, to help you decide which one of those prompts makes the most sense for you, which one you think you can really wrap your arms around. Apply Texas, excuse me, is the application that all public schools in the state of Texas and many, many private schools in the state of Texas will use. That's the application. And they have 3 prompts for you to choose from, and you'll have to answer one of them. The common application is an application that's used by almost 900 different colleges across the country and the world. And the really cool thing about the common application is you can fill it out one time and have it sent to multiple colleges, which is awesome. It saves you all kinds of time and effort. And there are 7 choices on that one, including one that actually says essay of your choice, which is great. So if you find yourself going, or if you've written something for Apply Texas, or for a scholarship application or a summer camp, it might be that you can work with that essay a little bit and have it work for that generic topic. And sometimes you'll get asked to write shorter statements too about things that are important to you or activities that you've been engaged in. So Apply Texas, I just wanted to give you a peek at what these are. And I'm not going to read them all to you. You'll have access to this presentation, I think probably through the recording, and then also there's a resource drive for you that will be shared with you that you can pull this back up. That has a lot of stuff in there that I hope will be helpful. But so topic A is tell us your story. So right off the bat, right, it's all about you. What unique opportunities or challenges have you experienced throughout your high school career that have shaped who you are today? And then essay topic B, so I like A and B, these are my favorites. B is most students have an identity, interest, or talent that defines them in an essential way. Tell us about yourself, right? That sounds like a line on a really bad date. So tell me about yourself. But we make jokes. College admissions should be joyful. Are you getting that? Anyway. So, and then the last one has, you have a ticket in your hand. Where will you go? What will you do? And when you get there, what are you going to do? I think that's the trickiest essay, actually. I've had students write about space travel. I've had students who wrote about wanting to get to a restaurant they've dreamed of, or traveling back in time to visit with a relative that they've lost. You can be really creative there, but I feel like A and B give you an opportunity to really showcase more of you and what you've accomplished and kind of what your long-term goals are than C, but that's just me. The common application has 7 topics, and you'll see that some of them are very similar to the Apply Texas topic. So we're going to work smarter, not harder. So a lot of times you can have maybe 2 or 3 essays, and you can use them for all kinds of things. But that first topic, some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful that they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story, right? That perfectly fits with A or B. It can go either way. There are questions about overcoming an obstacle in what you learned, or sometimes a failure. So which failure I don't think there is such a thing as failure. I think there are just opportunities for growth, right? And so there's a question about that. There's a question about challenging a belief or an idea, which I think is brilliant, because I know Gen Z, and you are always asking the questions and putting out those challenges and forging ahead for a better world. And so that, if that's been something you've been really engaged in, especially in terms of social justice, that might be your question. Anyway, there's a lot of variety there for you to choose from. And so those are just 4. All 7 of them will be in the resource drive for you to review. So there's a lot of room and a lot of variety in those applications and kind of what they're looking for. One of the greatest resources that I have found is Ethan Sawyer, the college essay guy. And so I have borrowed liberally from and repurposed and have his permission to do so. I have borrowed liberally from his treasure trove of materials on the college essay, because he's been doing this for a long time, and he's got incredible resources on how to not just generate ideas, but on the essay. And so thanks, Joe. And so he's got a ton of free stuff. You don't need to purchase anything. There are tutorials, and I'm just going to give you a snapshot, a couple of those exercises that he works with today. But I really encourage you to check him out and his work, and use that as you continue to write your essays. It's really, really good stuff. So what do you write about? I told you a little earlier that you have your own unique, fantastic, phenomenal, you're the only one in the world story to write about, but kind of the sky's the limit. You can write about just about anything. Sometimes students write about community service experiences that have been important to them if they've been really engaged in their community, especially over a period of time. They'll write about travel experiences. They'll write about their work with the environment. So if you are part of a crew at your school, or a squad, I don't know what the coolest word is anymore, or an organization like White Rock Lake Cleanup, or at your school, you're part of the green team, environmental warriors, like that would be something to write about. If you want to write about your family, if you've had work experience, if you've had experience in your home caring for siblings, if you've had an internship, if you've been involved with the math club, or with music or drama, or just about anything you can think of would be appropriate. There are a couple things that you probably wouldn't want to talk about, or that can be a little, let me say it this way, that can be, and this may come up later too, that might be a little harder to write about, or you kind of really have to think about what your motives are. So if you've been through a divorce or a loss in your family, or you have struggled yourself with a mental health battle, or an eating disorder, or drug or alcohol or substance abuse, sometimes we want to share that in an admissions essay. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, or that it's not appropriate. The way you approach it is really important. And so if you feel like you want to share something that significant and that personal, that intimate, it's best to really reflect on how you would, yes, share a little bit about what happened, the experience, and then what you learned from it and how you moved forward, right? So we don't want to spend the entire essay talking about that particular incident or experience or struggle. Not that we don't validate it or affirm it, but there's more to you than just that experience and that struggle, right? And so the admissions office is really interested in understanding how you are moving through that. We definitely don't want to talk about, let me tell you about that English instructor that ruined my life. Or your dating history. I mean, we're not particularly interested in your romantic life in a college admissions essay, again, unless you can really talk about things that you learned about yourself from that experience, and not spend the entire time talking about that beautiful evening we spent at the state fair together. Usually that's not appropriate. I like to say to my students, if it's not something you would share with your grandmother or somebody in your family that that you like to, you know how like in your life you've got versions of your stories. There's a version of the story that you'll tell your friends, and then there's the version of the story that you'll tell your grandma or your auntie, somebody that you really respect and you don't want to disappoint. Does that make sense? So think about that as you're choosing a topic, and as you're expressing yourself, like, what would my auntie think of this? And then that gut check will tell you if it's okay. But basically, you can write about anything. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking, so it's time for us to do some work. So I need you to grab something to write with, or the note section, the notes app on your phone. And we're just going to do, what I call a quick take. And again, I have borrowed this from Ethan Sawyer, the college essay guy. So time to write. And this is going to just be kind of like a warm up to get us into thinking about some of the topics that you might actually get to write about, okay? Or that you might be interested in writing about, things to pursue. So you're going to have 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, you're going to generate a list of all of the things you love. So, and without any judgment, without really thinking, you're just going to brainstorm a list. You don't have to give any details. It's just going to be words, right? So I love, and it can be whatever comes to mind. This is your list, and you don't have to share it. It's just for you. Okay. So 1 minute, a list of as many things as you can think of that you love. Go.
I'm trying to play
Yeah.
There we go.
Here we go.
Ms. Moreno, I have one special request. Can we, for those who want to share, can they like type their top love in the chat box when we get done? Okay. So when y'all get done with your list, if you can write maybe your top love in the chat box, just so we can get some ideas. I got mine. I'm ready. All right.
Sorry, time's up.
So that goes really quickly, right? I hope you were able to get down a couple of things. Did we have anybody? Should we give a second? So if you want to share something in the chat that you love, or maybe Dr. English or Taryn or
Yeah,
Joe. Yeah.
I got you. Yep. We
Okay.
got family, music, robotics, tacos. Like it's Taco Tuesday. Science, nature, playing my instrument, my family. I love it. These are all
Those are
wonderful.
fantastic.
My dog, learning languages. Very good. Very
Good.
good. That's some good stuff. Marching band. We got a lot of music lovers in here.
That's awesome.
The night sky.
The
That's
night sky.
beautiful.
Okay, who's that poet?
Church, language, another music. Music is very popular today. I love it. Very good.
That's fantastic. So I can I share a couple of mine just because I think they're funny.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So pie on my birthday, rain, clouds that look like Pixar clouds. You know, if you ever watch like Toy Story and you see the kind of clouds that are in Pixar movies. Los Angeles, social justice, spaghetti sauce, the Muppets, dancing in my living room or my office where no one is looking.
The
Yeah.
Muppets.
The Muppets are bomb, y'all. If you don't know the Muppets, Kermit and Miss Piggy and Rolf the dog, you got to look them up. We'll put that in the chat. We'll put a link in the chat to the Muppets. And so, what were a couple of years, Dr. English?
Yeah, mine was music. I'd say music and sports. Those are my two go-to moves. Whether I'm listening to music, making music, playing sports, watching sports, either way, those are what I fall back on.
That's fantastic. Okay, so keep that list handy, all of y'all, because we're going to use that a little later to pull out even more ideas, or to generate some ideas, not even pull out, generate some ideas for essay topics. Okay, so the next quick take is also a minute. And this is, what do you know a lot about? So what would you consider yourself to be an expert at? what do you do well? And again, we're not looking for complete sentences, just real quick thoughts. And so for those of you who love music, or you're in the marching band, or our poet who talked about the night sky, maybe you're an astronomist in the making, an amateur astronomist, but whatever it is, Taco Tuesday, maybe you actually make them, so you're a great taco maker. But whatever it is that you're good at, let's generate a list of those kinds of things. And we'll take another minute to do that.
Time's up.
That goes really fast, doesn't it? Yeah. The challenge is just to really not judge yourself. Just go for it right away. And so do we have, we're going to admit somebody into the meeting there. I just did that. Sorry.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to share? Anybody want to share a few things that they love cook, or that they're good at? We're on what we're good at, what we're skilled in cooking. Who
Excellent.
said cooking? We need to come. We need to test that out. Anybody says cooking or singing, I want to taste it and I want to hear it. Clarinet.
That's right. Oh, nice.
Organizing. That's a skill, because trust me, not a lot of us have it. Problem solving. Saxophone.
Yeah, as the student who's organizing, are you taking private clients right now? Because I have a gig for you. Yeah. Listening to other people. That's also awesome. That's terrific. Look at me. I'm geeking out, y'all. I'm so proud of you. These are fantastic.
I love it. Listening to other people is definitely a skill. Taking care of mother.
Taking care of my mother.
Love it. Sports. We got a sports person, making friends. Very good.
That's also a skill. Oh, these are great. You all have so much material here. Wow. I'm just a little verklempt. So I just want to say, I'm going to get inappropriately close to the camera. If you all think that you don't have a story to tell, look at what you just generated in 2 minutes. There's some rich stuff there. So some of the stuff I'm good at that I generated were college admissions, finding scholarships, making my mom's spaghetti sauce, reciting lines from Muppet movies, because, I mean, laundry, actually. I do a pretty good load of laundry. I don't know that I would write my college essay about that, but I do a mean load of laundry. What were some of the things that you were good at? Any of the UT outreach team want to share?
I took it from the tacos. I think I make some good fajita tacos at home for sure. Just because it's raining, and then I will be doing some after this. I also think I'm good at I want to say my side thing that I enjoy doing is like gaming. So just because like I'm able to connect with a lot of my students or previous students and actual with the gaming. So it's funny because we'll catch ourselves playing an intense game, and then 2 minutes later, people saw that, what is this question on FAFSA that it's asking for? And I've done a lot of advising over gaming. So it's really, really good.
That's fantastic. That's so good. Awesome. See, and there's a lot there. Like you'd think, oh, gaming, I couldn't talk about that. Yeah, you could, because look how quickly you told that story about, I just want everybody that's on this call to hear that, right? So something is simple, no offense, Joe, but you would think, I can't talk about gaming. I can't. Yeah, you can, because look how quickly he went from I'm gaming with students, and then before you know it, we're talking about the FAFSA, which is a financial aid form, and we're talking about college, and that leads to a deeper discussion. That's brilliant. I love that. I totally love that. Okay, so we're going to revisit those too, so keep those handy. The next thing we're going to do is called the Essence Objects exercise, and it's going to help us get a little deeper into things that we think are important to us, and it'll pull out hopefully some stories that we can connect back to the work that you just did in those quick 2 minutes. So again, borrowing from Ethan Sawyer, the college essay guy, I need you to imagine a box. And in that box, there are several objects. So, and the box doesn't have to be full. My box is full, which is why I need help organizing. But your box may not be full. Anyway, there are several objects in this box. And imagine that each one of them is an essence object, which means that each one of them represents something about you in a really fundamental, core, at your heart kind of way. So each object really is more than just an object. It's something that really represents, like you can see there, something about you that's totally unique to you. It's something that you value that has memory to it, maybe, or that reminds you of a special time. That's significant because of what it represents, because of something that you accomplished or something that you overcame. And so like in my box, in my Essence Objects box, one of the things would be, or it could be something that was important to somebody in your life. And so you've got that there to remind you of that person. And so in my Essence Objects box, I would put my mother's spaghetti sauce recipe, my father's baseball glove, my first jersey from when I played softball. A favorite pen that reminds me of an experience I had at a summer camp. It doesn't work anymore, but I'm never getting rid of that pen. It was one of the first times I fell in love with the Spanish language. Anyway, there's all kinds of things. So if you had to fill a box with things that were meaningful to you, that said something about you, what would those objects be? And we're going to give you 5 minutes to generate this. And you don't need to write complete sentences, but if you want to write what the item is and then a couple of reasons why it's significant to you, that will be very helpful later. Okay. I'm wondering in the chat if we have a question about that, or if people are clear on the directions. How do we feel about that? Let's take a pulse check from the participants. Good.
If you have any questions or have any comments, concerns, feel free to drop it in the group chat, and we'll definitely relay that back to Ms. Ann.
Cool. All right.
So we're ready to start with the timer?
We are ready to start. So you have 5 minutes.
Ready, set, go. Time's up.
You know, like at first you think, wow, 5 minutes, that's a long time. But it really, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the participants thought. Like if you felt like that was a long time, or if you felt like you were just getting into it and you could use a couple more minutes or that kind of thing. So, okay. So, I already shared a couple of things that were in my objects essence box or essence objects box, however you want to say that. So I'd be interested if people want to look at me. I'm getting the hang of this. People want to drop in the chat a couple of the things that were in their essence objects box. Or
I want to hear Miss Taryn Bright Haskets as the young people drop theirs in the chat. We hadn't heard from her.
We haven't heard from her today. Good call. Good call.
She's in the background doing some social media stuff, so we'll see if she jumps in.
Yeah, I'm here. So what's up?
What's in your object box?
Object as in just.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I tuned out.
So for example, like in my object box that I can usually dip in for something that compared to what Mazan mentioned, like for me is and mine is like my first lawnmower that I had when I was a kid.
Awesome.
Just because it taught me my work ethic, and it really taught me the value of, you know, when I wanted something in life. When I was younger and I would ask my dad for something and he would eventually get it for me, I then realized, oh, it takes time. It takes time to get this toy or to get this, because he's working out hard for it. So for me, it made me realize, oh wow, like that's where it comes from. So for me, it was my first lawnmower, and I still have it. It's run down, doesn't work no more, but for me is that object, because I could always relate back to that. And I always, my work ethic, I feel like it comes from him. And from that. So that's one of the objects that I have. Another one is my shoes. My first pair of name brand shoes were K-Swiss. Because it was that summer when I got my first lawnmower that I worked, and they cost $100 to get, and it took me all summer to save up for it. And then some. And so for me, those are my two, because those two memories and those two objects built the foundation of who and what I am today.
I would say, so do you still have to have the objects to this day, or
no,
okay.
Yeah.
So I have two objects I have. I would say is like my first like name badge from my first job.
Yes.
And I actually do have that one. It was a whistle. It's like a little playhouse over there basically it was a kids playhouse, jump house, and that place helped me realize like a lot of things that I guess I wasn't like all the responsibility I should have had. Like I didn't have to have a job. My parents didn't like allow. They didn't say go get a job. But I got that job around the same time I got my first car, which is also one of my first like objects. It was a 1990 Honda Civic. It was white. It had automatic seat belts. The air conditioner worked in the winter, and the heater worked in the summer. And I had to drive around with a big a gallon of water in the back just in case it got overheated. So I literally, those two things, my first job, my name badge, because I felt ownership and I was like being proud to go to work, even though I had to like wait till everybody cleared out in the parking lot to start up my car. I was just appreciative of my first car and my first job because that taught me so much. I learned a lot. I learned about like just because I guess I went to all black high school, and by being at that place working, it was multiple multiple people working there with different like backgrounds and identities, and that helped me learn as well. Just how to like work with people in the workplace and preparing me to go off to college because not everybody's gonna have the same background as you. So my first job, my first car definitely had to definitely have to be in my objects in my box. I was gonna say my kids, but then I don't want them to be objects. But
right.
But yeah, no, first those two for sure.
We have a couple of students that shared. We have someone use the U.S. History 1302 class syllabus. It was a class that made them fall in love with history. That's awesome. Really good. That's really good. I had another student to share a birthday cake because it reminds them every birthday the family unites and has fun all together, and so it brings back memories. So for sure, it's a very, very good one.
Grandfather's guitar. Because it makes her remember him in first class solo because it was the first solo that they had to play by memory. First volleyball made them fall in love with volleyball. Those are really good.
First birthday card from my dad, my laptop, my backpack from Nigeria, and my first job. They all taught me to adapt to changes and to get out of my comfort zone. Y'all, there are some essays coming alive right now. These are gorgeous. Okay, so
sorry, I'm gonna time check. It is 11:22, so we roughly have about another 8 minutes, and then if we continue and folks want to continue with us, they can definitely do so as well.
Great. Okay, so I think it might be worth it to run through the values exercise, though. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So that's great. One thing that you can do on your own time is look at that list that you just made of all the objects and see if anything's missing. Are there all parts of you represented? Or are you thinking, oh, wait, maybe I should also add a couple of things? Because if you've done that well, you should have a lot of material for a personal statement. I can say just from the chat and the things that we were sharing, you definitely do have some rich material. Okay, so now we're gonna move to something called the values exercise. You're gonna choose, there's a very long list. You're gonna choose your top 10 values from the list. And you can even add a couple of your own if you don't see them there. So these are things that, like you value integrity or work ethic or, well, anyway, you'll see it. You'll see the list. And so we're going to give you, actually, I can read some of them. No, that's way too small. Do you value community? Do you value organization? Do you value travel, curiosity, strength? So we're going to give you some time, 5 minutes again, to think about that. And again, pick your top 10. Top 10.
Go ahead and play
so you can write those down. Yeah, we're good.
And just want to add, it's okay if we go over a little bit. We started a little late, so this is really really good stuff.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that we get as much as we can. So hopefully, students that are on, you can hang on with us a few extra minutes to make sure that as you begin the process of essay writing, you have all these good tips and nuggets. So we just may go over just a tad bit.
And if you're having trouble looking at the list, let me know so like that I can zoom in and zoom out via the chat, please. Time's up. You're on mute, Anne. Just if.
The time goes faster and faster each time.
Right?
Does it? Yeah. Do you think that's like it's exponentially related to how deep we're asking you to go?
I think so for sure. Cause I know for me, I'm just over here. I was like, oh my gosh, like I got my 10 together, but it was very quickly and rushed. I felt.
Yeah. And I can hear myself, Joe. Why am I getting feedback? Okay.
Not sure.
I hate to make that a part of the permanent recording. Sorry.
No, you're fine on this end.
I have no filter. Okay. So let's see. Definitely want to get a pulse check from our participants and see how they're feeling about that last exercise. It is challenging, and you can give yourself longer to work with it, obviously. But that 5 minutes kind of forces you to do to be a little more spontaneous, or it's kind of a quick honesty, right? We don't want you to do a deep analysis. We want you to connect right away with the things that you value the most. But obviously, you can go back and look at those again. And so we're going to invite you again to share in the chat box. But the thing that you're going to do with this values list is you're going to go back to the list of things that you know. So remember that quick list that you generated of things that you know or things that you're good at. So find that, the list of things that you know or that you're good at. And then you're going to choose something that you know and connect it to 3 or 4 of the values that you just selected, right? So something that you know or that you're really good at, and connect it to the values, 3 or 4 of them that you just selected. And then you're going to explore the story of how those are connected. How are those values connected to what you're good at or what you know? And what are those really core, essential, primal, it's a good word, primal, at your gut memories that are connected to those values and what you know or what you're good at. And so in the spirit of continuing to overshare, I would connect. One thing I shared with you that I'm really good at is making a killer spaghetti sauce, right? Which for me connects me to the values of culture, family, and tradition, right? And if you remember in my Essence Objects box, one of the things in my Objects box was my mother's spaghetti sauce recipe. So you see how those are connected? And out of that, I can talk about much in the way that Joe and Taryn shared about the lawnmower and the car and the shoes, right? The K-Swiss. I'm going to remember that forever. But much in that same way, like I could in an essay, and for me, it's very vivid, and I actually did write this essay, talk about those times when mom and dad each taught me how to make that sauce, the conversations that we had when we were making the sauce, how it connected me to my family and my tradition and our family's stories going all the way back to Italy and Sicily, because I never got to meet that part of my family. And also work ethic, right? So the value of putting food, what it takes to put food on the table was one thing I learned in those conversations and from making that sauce. And finally, that you can't rush things. So I also learned patience because my mother and father, when they would make sauce, it takes 6 hours. It's got to simmer for 6 hours. There's no such thing as a quick sauce, y'all. And that taught me patience, right? So good things come to those who wait and to continue to work hard. Those are kinds of things I learned all around spaghetti sauce, right? That's a great, I hope you think it's a great essay, but for me, that's a great essay. So if anybody wants to share a couple things, or if one of our UT staff wants to try and make a connection to give another example for our participants, that would be awesome. But in the meantime, go back and think about what you know or things that you're good at and connect it to 3 or 4 of those values, and then just start to flesh out a couple stories in your head.
We got one there. Earlier I had said about bringing a birthday cake to my Essence box, and it reminds me that I value laughter, trust, family, And I also said I was good at cooking earlier, so it connects. Exactly.
Bravo. Bravo. Yep. I don't have my pom pom. Imagine I'm waving a pom pom.
Right.
Usually I do. So I'm giving you the pom pom. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's really, really good.
Mine very briefly, the tacos, right? I love tacos, and that's because every time after we had a big job, or I would work Thursdays right after high school or right after school, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So every time after a good day's worth of work, my dad would always take us to Taqueria LCI in Oak Cliff, the
Yeah.
little taco shop, and we would buy tacos there. And my dad would always say, "Don't worry, Mijo, we always work for food, not for money." And I was always okay with that because, man, those tacos were good. But
Riquísimo.
right, yeah, and then it would give me the protein that I needed, right? But for me,
Right.
it gave me that sense of family that no matter, yeah, sometimes it was funny because we would not argue in a sense when we were working because it's like I had my way of doing things that he taught me. He had his way of doing things as he adapts. My mother and my sister, all of us working together because it was a family thing. And so for me, it was like I started realizing, like, every time, no matter what, at the end of the day, we would come back together as a family and just enjoy the time that we had together. And that for me, a core value is family. And then that kind of transitions to community as well, because I started implementing that well, not implementing, but suggesting that either in the workplace or organizations that I'm involved in, like, oh yeah, let's just go get tacos after a long event that we had or a meeting, whether no matter what time it was, because that always brought us all back together, that family, that vibe, that community. And so that all in itself is all connected. And so I can definitely write about that. I always share my story with my students. And those K-Swiss, the white ones, all white, I still have them to this day. I bought them when I was in 7th grade at Longfellow. So I have those white K-Swiss, and I have the white and red suede K-Swiss, which was the second pair, because I was like, you know what? If I can do it one time, I can do it a second time. And I did. And so and I still have them, and I keep them because it reminds me every time, because they're all worn out, all beat up,
Yeah.
green from all the landscaping, but it reminds me that if I set my mind to it, I can do it. And if I did it when I was in 7th grade, I can do it as an adult. And so that's one of the beautiful things that it reminds me. They're somewhere in the laundry room, but they're in there.
You get a pom pom too.
Right.
I don't have my specific
That's
examples.
brilliant.
I don't have my specific examples, but I always connected what you're good at with what you love to do. But I think adding those other layers of the object box and the values, and then connect that, it just makes it profoundly more rich. That's amazing, the way that you laid that out.
Yeah, well, and I wish I could take credit for it. I mean, in so many ways. Anyway, we won't spend too much time on how great I think I am, but there are different ways of getting at that value, which I hopefully have coached students and led students over the years. But I think the way that Ethan Sawyer really kind of boils it down, to the essentials, and you're right. So thank you for sharing that, and Joe, for sharing what you did. It's perfect. And I think in our chat we've got, I'm good at my job, my first job. I believe so, and it reminds me that I value family and self-discipline and competence because it helps me understand how much my parents are going through and how to help them. Oh yeah, that's a double pom pom. That is a double pom pom. Oh look, we've got multiple pom pom action. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Taking care of my mother shows that I value family and knowledge and growth. And because I would have to go out of my way to learn and figure out ways to help her through her surgeries, hospital visits, and ways I can help her overall. This gave me growth as a person. That's another double pom pom. That's another double pom pom.
And it's like these last 3 or 4 paragraphs that the students have shared. That's like the the abstract to your essay. It's like,
yeah, exactly. So if you just ping off of that
right.
in either direction, right, in terms of starting that story and then getting into that, you've got your essay. Thank you. We've got in the chat, I love that, the confetti and the hearts. Shouldn't they be burnt orange hearts though? I'm just saying.
Zoom is limiting.
It's it's the Zoom. So that's genius, y'all. And I hope that you can see, can you see how I'm geeking out? Like my adrenaline is, I'm hyped. I'm hyped because you in like less than basically 20 minutes have generated hopefully these nuggets of things that you can build out and turn into a really wonderful wonderful personal statement and essay, and share so much about yourself that is just going to add so much to the rest of your application, and really share you with the admissions office. And that's exactly what what we're looking for. And so I think the next slide is going to show us, thank you, Joe, is going to show us the resource Google Drive that I've created. And so you can snap that with a QR code reader on your phone. I think if you have contact, if the UT outreach staff has contact information for all the participants, you might even email it out if you had email addresses.
Yes, and then I also shared it on the chat box. I just copied the link as well, so for you can the students can instantly access that as you're talking as well.
Great. And so thank you so much. And so there are 2 folders in there. One is the college essay guide. And so I've borrowed a bunch of his stuff so that it's already preloaded for you. And then some other resources from me that I've gathered over the last 30 years that I think will be helpful. Some tips and pointers and just some great feedback that you can use to gauge as you continue writing. I've got some other tips to share. I'm aware of our time, and so I don't know if we want to open it up for general questions or if we should just buzz through some of these. What do you think, y'all?
Let's do the tips. I think I know some of these. Let's go through the tips.
Okay. And so first, let me also congratulate you on the work that you've already done in the workshop. That was some heavy lifting, so you should give yourself props. Okay, I want to remind you, snaps. I would do a triple pom-pom, but I'd have to use my foot, and I can't do that right now. So, well done. So I want you to remember to write in your authentic voice, right? So write from your perspective. Don't try to write like you're somebody else. We want to hear from you. Your voice matters in more ways than one, and especially in this circumstance, in this essay. So write from your true voice. Be informal, but not casual. And so it's not a text message to a friend. It's not a formal research paper, though. It's kind of somewhere in between. It's more like a journal entry, actually, or if any of you journal, or a longer reflection that you might write. You can use contractions. I know for a lot of years, people are like, oh no, you can't say don't, can't, won't, hadn't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can use contractions. If that's how you speak, that's how you're going to write, and that's perfectly fine. Use personal pronouns. So I, me, we. Keep it to you. Open with a hook. We just had several of them shared not too long ago in this workshop, right? And so if you're going to talk to me about Joe, it was great. Like I'm just going to pick on your example, but you could talk about standing at the taqueria waiting for your order to come through and describing what you smelled and what you saw and what got you there. That's a hook. If I read that immediately, I'm going to want to know more about this guy. I'm going to want to know what got him there, why the tacos are so important, what that moment represents, right? That's a hook. So put me in the situation or that experience or that room with you. And keep the verbs active, right? And so rather than one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was, that's passive. I want you to say, when I rode the Texas Star, I thought I was going to die, right? Rather than images of death flash before my eyes. Although that would be actually good too. But the Texas Star, the big ride at the fair. Anyway, so keep it active and show me, give me examples. Be as descriptive as you want to be. You want me to feel like I'm there with you. I also want you to respond to the prompt and the direction. So answer the question, basically. Be specific. If the directions say you've got 650 words, don't write 800 words. I mean, you might need to write 800 words and then edit it back. So you can see that's also one of our tips, edit, edit, edit. That first thing that you write, the first essay that you write will not be the one you submit. So that's why you're getting an early start now, because we want you to be able to get through several drafts, several versions of this. You're going to proofread it. You're not going to rely on spell check. You're going to get a second or third opinion from somebody that you trust, but be very careful with who you pick, because sometimes friends can be well-meaning, but they may also not get it, right? I've had some folks not have great experience with friends, or a parent or another adult that you trust. Sometimes they can be hard on you. And it's probably something I've just carried around for my whole life, because I showed my first draft to my mom and it came back with all the red pen marks on it. And you should share this and you shouldn't share this. And I was like, it's my story. So hopefully there's a trusted teacher or an advisor that you can reach out to. Certainly UT outreach staff would be available to you, I think, to give you feedback as well. Oh, there's a question in the chat. I'm so excited. Do you recommend that we connect our admissions essay story to what we plan to study in college? That is an excellent question. So sometimes you will be directed to do that by the individual college, where they will have a question or a prompt or a supplemental ask where they want you to discuss that. If it's one of your passions, so if, let's say, you're interested in studying engineering and you've been involved with the robotics team, there's a natural connection there. It really kind of depends. If there was something in your essence objects box, and something that you value that are connected to what you want to study, that seems like that would work out really well. So I will say, yes, that is a brilliant topic. Will fit most of the prompts, but you don't have to write about that if there's another story that you would want to tell. Hope that makes sense. What else? We talked about some of this earlier about what topics are appropriate, and if you're feeling a little uncomfortable about the subject matter, like if you wouldn't share it with somebody that you were trying to get approval from, maybe it's kind of off topic, to not bash. So we need the next slide. Joe, can I advance? Thank you. So we want to avoid negative topics like bashing on an organization or a group or a school or a person. Definitely, if it's something that you feel strongly about. I know this year we had a student share about an interaction she had with a faculty member on our campus that led to the establishment of a club or organization to improve communication on campus. And that's where we put the focus, was on the establishment of that club or organization, not necessarily on the incident that motivated it. We shared a little bit about it, but we didn't have to go in there calling the teacher names or taking their inventory, that kind of thing. Being overly familiar. So, right, the admissions counselor is definitely your advocate, is there for you, but isn't your buddy, right? And so just be careful that it's not, again, like a text message or an email that you might send a really good friend. And somebody asked about the length. How long are the essays usually supposed to be? That's a great question. In the prompts, the college will usually give you instructions on how many words or characters. And characters is when they count all the letters plus the spaces plus the punctuation, which can get tricky. But sometimes in the prompt, they will give you that information. And so for the most part, it's going to be between 500 and 700 words. If the college does not give you direction, I would aim for that. And so a nice number is 650. So somewhere between 500 and 700, the equivalent of one page of written work, essentially. Yeah. Okay. Those are great questions, y'all. And finally, I'll say, we talked about this. It's very hard to, next slide, thank you. It's very hard to write funny. So I know, like, sometimes some of us just have that natural sense of humor and it comes through, or we're great at satire, or we're amazing storytellers. You know, you're the one at the family gathering or at your parties or when you're hanging out with your friends that everybody is like hanging on every word, and that's fantastic. Some of us have that gift and some of us are just like the rest of us and we don't. But it's very hard to write funny. So if that doesn't come naturally to you, just be careful with that. And also using quotes just for the quote's sake, right? So just to feel like you're being super impressive, like, oh, I'm going to start with a quote from, Malala or Michelle Obama or President Obama, for that matter, because I wanted to show something, right? But if what that person said was meaningful to you and you're going to talk about that, if that's a jumping off space for you in your essay, that's great. But if it doesn't tell us more about you, I'd rather hear from you, right? I want that essay to be your quote. That's the most interesting thing, is that it's about you. If you are writing, sometimes there's a prompt that will ask you basically like, why this college? And there's a lot of great advice from the college essay guy about how to answer that question. The psychology behind that question is, why do you love us? What do you think you can contribute to our campus? Why do you want to be a part of this community? But the worst thing that you can do in a why us essay when it's about a particular college is refer to the wrong college. So in my experience as a college admissions counselor, I have seen that. So that's why you need an editor, you need to proofread. And then finally, something that I call synonymizing. I used to call it thesaurusizing, but we don't use thesauruses anymore, right? It's called synonymizing your essay, which is when you think that your own, and this also makes me emotional, your voice and the words you choose are beautiful and appropriate and wonderful and great just the way they are. You do not have to go to a tool to look for other words to replace what you're saying, to make yourself or make, like I call it looking for those $40 words. You don't need to do that, right? Your language is authentic. And I will encourage those of you who actually are bilingual or trilingual to use your native language at certain points in that essay. It adds richness and texture. But it's very obvious when you borrow words that aren't authentic to you, that it just doesn't fit. And so use your language, use your words, and don't be tempted to synonymize it because you think that the way that you're saying it isn't enough. I hope that makes sense for you.
Hey, I was a serial synonymizer, and I would go back and read. I'm like, I don't know what this means at all. And so at that point, I stopped because I couldn't do it. He said, we had one that said, what if they don't understand that native language? How do you?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think if it's authentic to you, it's valuable and beautiful to share. And obviously, maybe it's not obvious. Let me say it this way. An entire paragraph in your native language, you may need to translate. If you're using words here and there are things called context clues, right? And so I had a student 1 year write about Sunday afternoons with her family and what they meant to her, and that every Sunday afternoon after Mass, they would go to the flea market, and they would get, there were always certain vendors and stalls that they would stop at, and they would see, and they would buy these special snacks. And the way she described it was this corn snack, and it had layers of cream and salsa and all kinds of things. And I said, wait a minute, what would you call the flea market when you were, would you call it a flea market if you were really telling me that story, if you were telling Ms. Morano that story? And she said, no, I would call it the pulga. I was like, great, call it the pulga. And then that snack that you're talking about, what was that? It was elotes, or it was whatever. Use that, because it's going to be very obvious what you're talking about from the way that you're telling the story. And the other thing I will tell you is it's okay to challenge your reader. And I get very passionate about this too. Bring that diverse voice, that perspective that you have to your essay, and make that reader work a little bit, right? They're going to be engaged. They're going to want to know what that is. They're going to maybe ask Siri, hey, what does this word mean? It's a great way to pull people in. It's a great device if it feels real for you. So I wouldn't worry about overdoing it. And of course, you can always put the English translation in parentheses if it's a longer sentence. So I've had students share dichos or statements or sayings that they grew up hearing in their house, right? So something that mom or dad or grandma would always say to them that they carry with them, and then an essay was about that, and they would put that line in the essay. You can translate it too, if you feel more comfortable doing that and giving your reader that kind of help. But I say go for it. I hope that answered the question. Okay. And then I think that we will, I think that we are in a good space now. I think we've done some excellent work. I'm so excited. I think, I've got some other things like, I just want to reinforce using your own voice and being careful with who you ask to edit. Sometimes people are well-meaning, but they do over editing, and that's not good for us. So tell your stories, y'all. Tell your stories. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I want to thank the team at UT Outreach Dallas, again, for the invitation. And if there are questions that y'all have, or there's other things that you want to ask about, or Dr. English, if there's anything that I left out, please let me know. I'm gonna stop talking right now.
Well, thank you so much, Joe and Taryn. If you have anything else, let me know. I was going to get ready to close us out, but Taryn posted a survey link, and we would love for you to take that. I think if you can click on that link now, or I think we may be sending it out in a little while. But I mean, what more can I say about Anne Morano? Uh,
Stop.
I think just the tips and the way to think about how to go about your essay. I mean, I really did learn something from the object box and the values and how to connect those things. So we just want to say thank you to her. So if you can give her a virtual hand clap, or you can even unmute yourself and give a real hand
Woo!
clap, however you want to go about doing it,
Yeah,
or you can yell and scream.
that's it. Thank
That
you.
works too.
Thank you.
But y'all
Lastly,
keep writing. Keep writing.
Thank you.
before
Thank
thank
you.
you. Before y'all jump off, we want to see y'all back tomorrow at the same time from 10:30 to 11:30. We should be able to stay within our time frame at that point.
All right.
But no,
No,
essay
this was
no,
good.
listen, essay writing is so rich. I did not want to limit that because we if we don't have that essay, it's going to be hard to do anything else. So tomorrow is our alumni panel, so you get to hear from a lot of our some UT grads on just where they are, how they got there, students of color, underrepresented students, working now, doing great things. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to hear from them, and you can ask them questions about how they got to where they are. So that's it. We thank y'all so much for coming. Tell your friends to join us. Y'all come back tomorrow, and then we look forward to seeing y'all again.
No, for sure. And thank you all. And I'll make sure that we send our survey out and also the resources that Ms. Ann shared with you all as well. And then I just wanted to say the youngest outreach squad member is right here as well.
Oh, hey,
So
baby.
she's joining us for this
I'm
essay.
so
She learned a
big.
lot.
Is that UT class of 2030? Wait, what?
Right? No,
20.
but I think that that's it. Thank you all for joining us this morning.
All right.
Congratulations, everybody. Good work.